How do you know, husband, whether you will save your wife?
You make plans for things. Life happens.
I want to live a bigger life.
You know, Anne, I am surprised that you wound up marrying Jacob. Whatever happened to the adventurous Anne?
This is so tempting. I just can't do it to Jacob. Oh!
Who are you?
That's odd. You've got new teeth coming in.
What?
Anne.
Oh, good, you're home. Get changed. I'd like to go out.
40 years I've known this woman. Every day the same. Now, I don't know who I'm coming home to.
How much of that could I get?
You want the blood?
I feel more alive than I have in years.
Hey, Mrs. Fetter, you all right? Mrs. Fetter?
It wasn't me.
Of course it was you! Why didn't you tell me when this first happened?
I felt ashamed.
As you should. Husbands, love your wife. He who loves his wife loves himself. So effed up!
That looks heavy.
I want to make my own decisions from now on.
You ever see something you couldn't explain, Sheriff?
You don't know how to fight for me because you've never done it.
Give me the strength to save her soul!
We need to finish this.
How you gonna write this one up, Deputy?
Domestic dispute. Non-violent.
Our guest has starred in some of the great horror films of her generation, of any generation. Re-Animator, Castle Freak, From Beyond. I've got all of these. Fraternity Vacation.
Amazing. Look at all
In her
those.
new film, Jacob's Wife, she plays a woman whose stagnant life is re-energized after a chance encounter with an otherworldly stranger. It lands on the streaming service SHUDDER from August 19. I am thrilled more than she could know to welcome to screen watching the wonderful Barbara Crampton.
Thank you, Simon.
Congratulations on Jacob's Wife, and especially on your performance as Anne. It's been a long journey bringing this film to life, hasn't it?
Yes, I can't even tell you. It's been years, 4 years. I don't know why it took so long, because when everything finally came together, it was like that. But we worked quite heavily on the script. The script actually won a screenwriting contest at Shriek Fest Film Festival in Los Angeles in 2015. And when I initially got the script, the fest director and the original writer, Mark Steensland, sent it to me because I thought it would be a good vehicle for me and maybe I'd want to produce it. Anyway, I read it and I loved it, but the central character was more from Jacob's point of view and how he would deal with his wife if she was bitten by a vampire, and sort of, you know, that was ostensibly like a terminal illness. And so they used vampirism as a metaphor for a terminal illness and what that would do. But my producing partner, Bob Portal, and I, we were talking about it and we thought, well, why don't we make it from Anne's point of view a little bit more? So we tried to skew it that way and go with what was happening culturally in the zeitgeist, that women were becoming more empowered in our society. And, you know, the more we think we are equal, maybe we're really not. And so we're continually fighting the same battles. And so we wanted to make it a film from Anne's point of view. And that took a couple of years of working on the script and rewriting it. And we really dug in deep with that and really wanted to get the script correct before we moved forward. So it took a couple of, you know, Mark did pass on it, and then we had a couple of other writers do a pass on it, and then when Travis became involved, he put his pass on it as well. So, you know, it took a while for us to get it where it needed to be. And I guess that's really not uncommon. But it feels like a long road. It does feel like I've been working on this movie for quite a while.
Yeah, and I guess that leads me to my next question. Despite the very traditional sort of middle-class suburban setting, this self-empowerment storyline is about as contemporary an issue as there is. And when you double that down with the centuries-old mythology of vampirism, it's quite a subversive, quite a revolutionary take on the genre.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we tried to tell a story about a woman's awakening to herself and her life choices and who she could be as a person. And we also wanted to make it a movie about a marriage and a relationship, and how does that change the relationship, and can you sustain a relationship when one partner wants something different than you want. And as we all know, 50% of marriages end in divorce, and how do you keep it going? And it was important to me, and you know, for Larry also, to work together under the realization that he and I are long-term married people, and not so long, but 20 years. Each of us have been married for 20 years, and so how do we navigate that when we've had, you know, issues to move forward? And I think it's something that everybody can relate to when you're in a relationship with somebody and somebody wants something different than you want, or you change, and how does that affect your relationship, and how do you move forward?
Yeah. And I guess no spoilers, and I want people to watch the film to know what I'm talking about here, but the casting of Bonnie Aarons in a role that would be traditionally taken by a male actor is significant.
Well, and it was originally written as a man, or the master, we just kind of assumed it was a male. And it wasn't until Travis came on as the director and he did his pass on the script and he presented it to us and we read it, and he had changed the gender. What a surprise that was. What a surprise that was when we read it. I read it and I'm like, it's a woman. What? Oh my God. And I thought, of course it's a woman, because when you think about it, you know, who's going to give you that permission to become the best of yourself? You know, it's going to be another woman. I mean, with a lot of, if you're having a difficult relationship with your husband, who are you going to look to for advice? You're going to talk to your girlfriend. And Bonnie Aarons' character is almost like becomes my best friend in the movie, you know, this other vampire. And she helps me in ways that only a deep friendship could, you know. And it's almost cool too that it is a woman, because I feel like in some ways people might think of, you know, Bonnie's character as being sort of the subconscious of Anne. You know, that's who she's always wanted to be, and you know, she sort of just gains this knowledge and this self-awareness because of this other being that also is a female vampire who, you know, on this very subconscious level is really speaking to her. Yeah.
Working with Larry, you're not the only cult movie icon in this movie. You work with Larry. He looks like a lot of fun to hang out with, and B, like he's always just got out of bed, and that's wonderful. You'd worked with him on We Are Still Here. What did your collective experience as both horror movie staples and experienced actors bring to the crafting the emotional world of Jacob and Anne?
Well, it was really important for me to work with somebody that I knew quite well. And I've known Larry for 10 years now. In addition to working on We're Still Here, he has a show called Tales from Beyond the Pale. It's kind of a radio show, if you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
And a lot of different people have written scripts for it. A lot of really wonderful actors have been cast in it, and I've done 3 of them. And so I've known him, you know, really even since we worked on Your Next, even though our characters weren't in any scenes together. But I've always looked up to Larry, and he's been a producer, a director, an actor himself, a writer for so many years in the horror genre. And his name is as synonymous with the horror genre as mine. And yeah, I wanted somebody of Larry's stature to also play opposite me, but also I do feel like in a way he's been underutilized in the genre because he normally doesn't play a leading role. He normally plays a supporting role or, you know, a 3rd or 4th or 5th supporting role.
Yep.
And I really wanted to give him a showcase for his talents. When we worked on We Are Still Here, I thought he was amazing. And just, you know, I would have watched a whole movie just with his character, you know, in that film. I just thought he was great. And we got along so well on that film too. And he's just such a giving, wonderful, special actor. And we have a trust. And I thought that it was really important for our characters to trust one another. You know, I really wanted to work with somebody that was I knew would be a very giving actor. And, you know, as I hope people think that about me as well. So the relationship and the trust that we have together had to feel really lived in with these 2 characters because they had been married for so long.
Yeah.
And so that was important. And Larry's a longtime married person, married for 20 years. I'm married for 20 years. So, and I just think he's fantastic. So with all of that from the very beginning, he was in my thoughts that I wanted him to play the part of Jacob. And it just took us a couple of years to get there before we could make a formal offer to him.
You're wonderful together in the film. And I want to ask you, and you're in this very unique position of having been front and center of sort of that 80s horror boom, and then come around again for this horror new wave of the 2010s and 2020s. It's a fairly broad question, but can you draw a direct line between the mavericks that you worked with back then, like Stewart Gordon and Brian Yuzna, and the cool kids you work with now, the Adam Wingards on Your Next and Travis on Jacob's Wife? And I should point out, I've just seen King Knight, the work you did with Richard Bates, which is just wonderful. So
I love him. Yeah,
is there a bridging element that brings the old and the new together for you?
Well, you know, I've worked with a lot of new young filmmakers. At the time I worked with Stewart Gordon. Re-Animator was his first movie. And I've worked in the independent horror scene for a really long time. You know, I don't really usually work on studio movies. It's more often the do-it-yourself DIY kind of film. So what would I say about, you know, about these guys? I guess I would say that, and you know, it's funny you mentioned Ricky Bates Jr. because I do feel like he and Adam Wingard and definitely Travis and even Ted Geoghegan, they come from a place where they are able to have their singular vision, their, you know, the vision of what they want to make. And that is what's true in the independent horror scene. You know, if you're working for a big studio, you hear this all the time, you read about stories like this, or you're working in television, the structure is already there of what they want you to make or what they want you to do. The studio is telling you what to do. But in independent films and certainly in independent horror films, you have a little bit more license to be an auteur, your own creator, and create something that you want to make. So I look for people that I think, and I say yes to projects where I really feel like somebody has a great vision and has something to say and is unique. And if I don't feel that about a man or a woman or anybody, even Gigi Saul Guerrero, who I did this movie Culture Shock. I don't know if you get that in Australia, but it's from the Blumhouse. It's on Hulu, but it's from the Blumhouse company. Into the Dark series. Anyway, look up Gigi Saul Guerrero. She's amazing, and I did a movie for her, and she's just going to do another movie for Blumhouse. And I feel like she's like that too, you know, just really has a forceful, direct vision of what they want to create, and they have something to say. So I guess that's the bridge of what that is, you know. And when Ricky Bates asked me to be in his movie, I hadn't even read it, and I said, yeah, I'll do it, because I knew it would be interesting and cool and good and have its own cool, you know, artistic point of view. And then I read it and I said, of course, yes, I definitely want to do this. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a wonderful film, as is Jacob's Wife. I guess I should ask, maybe, you know, in the independent scene, things, when, as you said with Jacob's Wife, they can stagnate, they can sort of boil along for a little while, and then when they move, they can move really fast. So what's lined up next for you?
Well, I have the Ricky Bates movie coming out, and that's King Knight. And then I did a movie for Brandon Christensen, who did Z and Stillborn, and that's coming out on Shudder as well in August, I think, or September. I forget now. Maybe it's September. I think it's September, early September. And then there's been a couple of other little projects I've done that haven't, you know, gotten to any festivals, or they're just being edited now.
Sure.
But I did also one really cool big project I did was a big video game for Warner Brothers, and
Oh, wow.
It's called Back for Blood, and it's the spiritual sequel to a video game called Left 4 Dead. And I voiced one of the main characters, and I got that call out of the blue from the writer Simon McKenzie, who wrote Back for Blood, and he's a big horror fan. And he said, I want Barbara Crampton to play the part of Mom in Back for Blood. And, you know, these are all video game guys. And I'm like, who? And he's like, Barbara Crampton. And they said, okay. Anyway, I had to audition for it, but I got the part.
Really?
That's okay. That's fine. I don't mind. I got the part. And then I spent the last year while we are still in the pandemic, recording virtually in a studio. And I had about 800 lines for the whole game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a lot of hours, like countless hours of recording it. But it was one of the most fun things I've ever done. I love to do more of that kind of work too.
I'm loving Shudder as a horror movie nut. It's great picking up. Do I wish that I had an opportunity to see Jacob's Creek on the big screen? Yes, of course. One of my most vivid memories, movie-going memories ever, is watching Re-Animator in all its vivid glory on the big screen. How are you with the new normal of simultaneous releases and streaming platforms and that sort of stuff?
I just think we can't fight it. What else are we going to do? I mean, everybody's spending more time at home, and we kind of have to now, and it's safer for us all. And people are really getting into their homes and enjoying being home. So I think we just can't fight it. I do love the experience of being in a big theater with other people. I went to Disneyland yesterday. You had to wear masks there, but I was with a lot of people, and we went into the Star Wars attraction, and the ride is more like an immersive ride. So it's more experiential in a way. And I was with a lot of other people masked up, you know, and I felt like, wow, I'm like in a movie in a way. And it was really cool. And I enjoyed the energy of all the other people around me. So I do think we'll come back to that. And I think people do want to go to the theaters eventually. And when it's safe for us all to do so, I think, you know, the theaters will come back, and it might be a different experience for us all. Maybe it'll be more of a thing where we're going to be eating and drinking and doing other things while we're watching a movie, and that'll be fun. It'll be a way for us to come together. I think all of that stuff is going to be reinvented potentially. So we'll see. But I think we just have to go with what is right now, you know, and you just have to do what the officials and people in charge, the smart people in charge, tell us what to do. And, you know, be safe and mask up and get your vaccine when you're able to.
Get your vaccine. I couldn't agree more. So, Barbara Crampton, it's been such a thrill talking to you. Congratulations on Jacob's Wife. Thank you for an extraordinary career that has just been such a huge part of my movie-going experience. So It's so lovely to speak to you, and all the very best.
Thank you, likewise.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.